Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In the previous video we have explained about algorithm. How can we design from a real problem? We give the pseudocode and we give the Java code. So today we'll talk about input, output and variable in Java. So at the end of this lecture you'll be able to understand what is exactly an input in Java and output, and especially you know about variable in Java, the different types of variable, then variable scopes and how it store data. We'll also see how we can change variable type from one type to another and how we can do the casting from one type to another types, and also we'll see what we call promotion. To understand this, we'll also give a real problem where we try to design and give the pseudocode, and finally we'll try to write it in Java. Again, as in the previous videos, we will focus on our text editor before starting using IDE, as we explained in previous video. So for those who have missed the previous videos, you can go to my channel and try to see about it. Then, so why do we need input and output in Java? So as we know, even in real life, a program often interact with the outside world. So for instance, let's say you want to cook something, so we will need to buy some ingredients. What we can call as the input. Then after the food is ready, we can call it as output. So in another way, or in another word, input is like the receiving data from user or device, what you get from the user, like the end user of a software of a program. He has to type something. The output is what you get as a result. So as analogy, you can think about a restaurant. For instance, when a customer comes inside a restaurant, when he order a food, we can see the order is an input, and the time the chef prepares, you can call it as a processing. Then after the food is ready, it gives the dish served, is like the output. So it means the ready. It's the same idea in programming. We have some output, then the process is like the code inside what we do, like we do some calculation, call some method, or this process to get the output. So this in a similar way. So let's see, for instance, in Java, how can we use output or call output? So in Java, the output we can use to get output, we can use System.out.println to print something. So here, as you can see, we have print or println. So what's the differences between them? The println, it means after you print, you go at the line, compared to print, that is just print what you have to, or what you have typed inside. So let's see this example. We see we print a name. Let's assume we print a name like just my name Hamza. So after you print, you write this one. So this can be waiting to get what you call the output of something. So but here for the input, we have to call what you call scanner. We'll see it in the example. Is a class in Java that will help the end user, or as we see, our device, to get input. So for that, for instance, in our case, when we want to type, for instance, let's say my name, so we have to call this, create a variable that is a type of string. You'll see it later, name, and it will be a scanner next. This next line is a method that is inside the class scanner. Okay, so to know more about this class scanner, you can find all the method from the Java documentation. Okay, so let's see now what is a variable in Java. A variable is like a container to store data during a program execution, and the variable can have different types. Okay, and the variable mainly has three components. First, the name of the variable. The second one is the data type. Then the third one is the value of the variable. As an analogy, we can see that here we have the variable type that is int. Int means integers. The age now is a variable name, and this 25 is the value that the variable can take. This way is like a container. So then the data type, since in our example we have give small information about data type that is integers, so we have different types of data. For instance, we have what you call the category of primitive data. It can be integers, double, or char, or boolean. So integer is like int, okay. Then double is like the float number. Sometimes if you have, for instance, 10.5, this is type of double. Then the char is like the character, as you can see here. Then the boolean is type of true and false. As you can see, something can be true or something can be false. Then now the no primitive types, we have string, that is set of character. The arrays we'll explain more when we start by the data structure or introduction about arrays. And the object we will explain one by one later in the next coming lecture. So this one example, as you can see, one example of primitive data and another example of no primitive data. Okay, so as you can see by analogy, we can say the primitive data is like single item box. Each box can hold only one type of items, numbers, decimal, or letter, or true or false. While the no primitive is a complex containers, they can hold multiple items at the same time. As you can see later when we explain about arrays, for instance. As you can see here, the string name always is no primitive text, multiple characters. So compared to, for instance, character, there is only one, like A is character, B is character. Okay, so that is it. Now let's see about variable types, which are very important in Java. We have mainly three types of variable. The first one is what we call local variable, which is inside a method or in general a block. So for now, since we don't learn method, we can just see as a block anything that has this. So this can be block. So if this variable we have, for instance, A, that means it's a local variable for this block. Okay, so the block can be a statement condition, a method, or constructor, which we'll learn later. Okay, then we have also what we call the instance variable, which belong to an object, and each object has its own copy. We'll explain also by giving an example. Then now we have the static variable, which belong to the class. And what is important in this is save memory management, which we'll learn later. Why? Because this, for this, you don't have to create any object. It is shared across all the objects in the class. This was sometimes we call them class variable. So for analogy, for you to understand, for beginner especially to understand, local variable, you can see it as ingredient you use while cooking on dish. You see, compared to instance variable that is assigned to a specific chef. You see, then now the static variable, it can be as ingredients in the shared kitchen pattern. So you see, anyone in the kitchen can use this variable. So this is a way to explain kind of a static variable. Then now we give example of variable or different types of variable. The first one, as you can see here, is the type of local variable. You can see here we have in this block, as explained this, we have a method that here is start by this and finish by this. So this you call the block. I have already explained this. So this is local variable for this method that is cook. Then now when you have a class, for instance, that called chef instance variable, we see here, so this variable, any object from the class can use called instance variable. As you can see here, we have this create instance variable. Then now from show the ingredient, we can show it, call it here and print it by calling the variable. So later you'll see, mainly when we start when we start to explain what is an object and class, you'll see how we can create instance of the class that is an object through the instance variable. Then now, as you can see for question here, we have a static variable that is, for instance, we give from value for this, and you can see here we can directly manipulate the variable. Okay, so in a simple way, this is one of the example on about a type of variables in Java. We have mainly 3 types. Okay, so let's move to what we call the conversion. As we see, we have different types. So how can we convert what we call the widening from small type to larger type? Let's, even in mathematics, we have integer, we have decimal, until a big number like what you call the set of z. Okay, so here when we have int is 10, we have double. You can do what you call the conversion. This you call within. So since integer is also in a double, like in mathematics, as you can see, we say n is also in z, right? We all learn this in high school or even sometimes secondary school. Okay, we know this. So it's same idea here. We have int, we can do the widening, that y can also be x. Now we have what called now it's for larger to smaller. We can do it, but in another way. Since I cannot see what is here, so here we have from double, I have this, I can get int, but in this case, you see, we have put something what you call the int. So this is type of now casting. So you see, this sometimes happen in programming that you need to convert one type of data to another types. So we see you can do both of them, for smaller to larger type, also for larger type to another smaller type. So we have also what we call the overflow and the adding the overflow types. So what does mean? Sometimes it's happened that a value exceeds the maximum limit of data. For analogy, let's say in our 12 hours clock, we know that after the clock come to 12 is like become to 1, as you can see. So it's same idea here. Sometimes, for instance, we know the integer value is the maximum value of integers, which we can learn later to see for each type what is maximum value. So the type of integer maximum value is this one, and the minimum value is this one. So when we add this, it will exceed, so we'll reach to the 1. It's same as a clock. We see at 12 o'clock when we reach here, usually 12 o'clock, when we move, you see it come to 1. Usually when, for instance, we have 12, 1 for our clock, as you can see here. So it's same idea. So here, even this number is the maximum, when I add 1, I'll go to the lowest one. So why? Because in Java, the integer type is 32 bytes, which can store the the value from this to this. So you see, after I get this, it's like I do a cycle, I come back again to this one. So this is the reason. So since this is the maximum, anything I add to him, I cannot move here. I have to come back to this one. So this is the reason when I get this, I will get the output is this minus 2, the number that is exactly here. Okay, so this usually you learn it by when you know exactly what's the maximum value that a variable can take when it is type of integers, like this. Okay, so now let's see one example. How can we add, for instance, 2 types? Okay, and for analogy, you can see that small coins are put into a bigger box before counting. So here we have type of byte. For instance, we give this a number and another one. So now we want to do the sum of 2 bytes, as you can see here. So I can print the result and do the narrowing, as you can see, so that we can get expected cast needing 4 bytes. As we know, it's same way that we just show here, that for the decimal, as you can see, I cannot convert directly double to int. So I need first to make the casting that this number that is double A, I want to make it as int. So it's the same idea with this one, the byte. Okay, since this is a type of int, so to get, I have to do the casting. Of course, there is order. Someone can say, how we know that the byte is more, or how we know that int is more than double. As I see, it's like in mathematics. So here we have this. So in Java also will show you how is the order of all this type of data, which one is bigger than which one. Okay, so now we will do a real study. Let's assume that we want to read two numbers and print their sum in a simple way. First, what we have to think. So we have to design the problem as you can see here. So we have to get the two numbers from the user, which are the input. Without input, we cannot do anything. It's like without ingredient, we cannot cook. Okay? Then we have to store this variable in somewhere, the input somewhere that we have learned what is variable. Then we calculate that's the processing, then we get the output. So basically, as you can see, these are the input and these are the processing and these are output, our three things that we have learned in previous slides, as you can see here. Then how can we do the pseudo-code before Java code? So let's see. First, we have to read this number 1. Then second, we read number 2, as you can see here. Then now we do the sum of this number. So now let's translate this to Java code. For that, we will try to open our text editor so that we can easily type it. Let's go to our text editor, as you can see here. So now let's say we want to create our, so I don't know what I'll call it, but since this file is our file that we create before the welcome file, I think we can still give the same, that is the public class, and I call it maybe welcome, so that I don't have to change the class name, as you can see here. Okay, so after that we need our public static void main, right? Then our string, as you can see, our string arg, so that we can print, right? Then now what we say that we need some input. So as we see the input, to call it, we have to call the scanner class new scanner system in. Of course, in Java, there's what you call, we need to import it. Later we'll explain which type of class we have to import until we don't when we don't have them. So dot scanner, we have to import this class. Okay, in Java, there's what you call, anything that is not in java.lang need to be import, and this we'll learn it later, the type of class that we have to import. Okay, since we import in, now we can say our input. Since first in what we say, we can say system out, maybe print ln. We just say to enter something so that the user will know that we are waiting him to enter a value. Maybe enter the first value or number, since you want to get two numbers. Okay, so as you can see here, then now since the type is integer, we say we want to do the sum of two integers. So int type, maybe number 1 is scanner dot next int. Now the type of int is int, so it's the next int, as you can see here. The same thing, this is the input that you want. Okay, then you want another number, that is another input, as you can see here. Then second one now is the enter second number, so that you can go fast. Then now number 2 dot next int, right? Then now we do what? The processing that we said. This is the second step, processing. That is what? Int sum, we should take the two numbers, that is number 1 plus number 2, as you can see here. So this is our processing. Then now last step is the output. We need our output. that we can just call system.out.println then the value you want, so that you can go fast. Maybe this is the sum. You can say this is the sum of 1 and b, that you can just call, and we have it here, sum. That is all. Now if there is no error, we can easily get the output. Let's go to our command line that I remember I told you. So I will get a new one, it's better. We go directly to what we call our lab, remember. So I call it here, the file here. So I go directly cmd. So you go direct to my file. See, now I am inside my Java lab where I have the file. But since in the previous class we have compiled, I think the hello one. So if there is the dot class, we have to delete it. So now let's compile. If there is some error or no, we will just now know. So Java C, as you remember, Java C compile. So there is error, that something we see is they tell you if it is ID, he'll show directly. Now you see he show you where there's error somewhere. So that means is here is dot in that I make, and I forget also this one. See how this reason is very good to do by command line. It will help you to know how to find error in your code. But if it's ID directly, you don't know exactly, because the ID guide you where there's error by showing something in red. It will underline it by red. Let's see again. Then now no mistake, and we can easily see that the welcome class is generated. So now let's go to our Java command to run the welcome file. Of course, let's run it. First number, let's add just maybe 23. Second number, let's add 2, so that we guess the sum should be 25. This is sum, and which is correct. As you can see, this is really interesting and nice to understand. So this case study, we explain what exactly is the input, the processing, the output, of course the variable types that we have just explained in this real case study. As you can see it from, so as you can see, this exactly what we get from the coding. So here I can share this in the YouTube so that you can repeat it, or by watching you can easily see that you have almost the same code is in what we didn't say in our our text editor. Okay, so to summarize what you have learned, we explain and show you what is exactly input or output, and we have here some analogies, like when you want to cook, when you go to a restaurant, what is the input, what is the processing, what is the output. We also show some data types, what is data types, and different type of variables like local, instance variable, and the static variable, both of them. We also give some real example that first help us to think, then we design, we give the pseudocode, and finally the Java code. So thank you for watching the video, and please don't forget to like and to subscribe so that you can automatically be notified for next video. So if you want to get more, you can click to my YouTube, you can go to my YouTube channel. Thank you again. See you for the next video. Bye bye.